Welcome to Mackenzie Creations. In this video, we are going to go over the cards that I made for the Spellbinders virtual The Weekender retreat. And this online retreat was so fun. So the retreat was Friday and then it was Saturday as well. And they just had a packed full agenda. So I thought the virtual retreat was very nice. They sent us everything in this box to make up the cards here. And so I was so excited that I was able to make up these many cards. I did wait till the last minute to do my homework and cut out the dies and the pieces needed to make up the card. And so instead of making up all the cards, I made up one card using all of the dies because a lot of the teachers, they use the same dies and just made up their own card, their own format. And so I just did one card. So I was very happy that I was able to do this. And so I'm going to get my cards to the side and we'll get started in going over each of the cards. I am happy to say that I looked up Spellbinders website and they will be offering these Stampin' Dies for their June release. So it's generally, I think, the middle of the month that they release their new arrivals, but you can check their website for additional information. So let me get everything to the side and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. And so I made these two cards up and I was so happy at how they came out. So I'll hold this first one up. And it says, "Ciao, hope this card finds you well." And so we cut out a bunch of lips right here. We used some lemons and some embellishments right here, the rhinestones. And so there were a lot of good tips in the videos, like this child sentiment die. We actually cut this out several times and layered it up just to give it some dimension. I don't think I would have did that, but I really like how it came out. And because the sentiment is so thin, it was a little challenging for me, but I got through it and I just really like how it came out, the dimension of it being layered on top of each other so it'll be sturdier. And so the one thing that I would have did, I do have some of that gloss that you put on, but I was scared to put it on just to give it like a shine. So maybe I'll do another card with that, but I didn't want to mess it up. And so let me just hold this up. I have two sets of dies on here, so I'll just cover this up. So here it is. And these are all the dies in this set right here. So you have the face, and when you cut out the face, they give you an indentation of the lips in here. So once you cut out your lips, you'll know where to put it on the face. So that's very nice. So for my second card, we have the partial face right here, and she's eating the spaghetti noodles. And then for my sentiment, I have, "Hope your day is as bright as the sun." And then we have the child word again with the foliage and the oranges. And then we also have some embellishments on here. I have a plain blue background layer. And then all the cards that I use are A2 size, so that's 4 1/4 by 5.5. So I really like how this came out. So those are my first two cards, and I'll get the next cards. Okay, so I have my next two cards, and this is using the Citrus Spritz. And also we use this 3D embossing folder right here. So let me just hold this up. I just love how detailed the 3D embossing folders are. So let me hold this up. So these are the lemons. And I actually did not have time to set up my Spellbinder Platinum machine. And so I was able to run this 3D embossing folder through my Anna Griffin electric impress machine. And I thought it came out nice. And so I added the lemons here, the little florals on top. And then this sentiment says, "You love this." And then I added some pearls as my embellishments. And so my cards may differ slightly from the instructor card. So this card right here, I really veered off of what the teacher did. So he used these stencils right here. And then he did not use this lemon at all, but he was using these rub ones. And let me grab these right quick. Okay, so he was using these rub ones, and I think he used these two right here. in this card, and I am not good with fussy cutting, and I wasn't going to take the time to try to do it, so I just improvised and I went and used my lemons, and I think the card came out okay. So in the class he used a stencil, and it wasn't like this. It was like splatter, and it was real pretty. And then for the rub-ons, he had 4 of these rub-ons that's in the background right here. I only used 2. And then, like I said, he was using these rub-ons, and it looked like he fussy cut these out. And I was like, nope, I can't do it. So I just added the lemon, added a cinnamon on here that says La Dolce Vita with some rhinestones on here. And I think it came out very cute. So I was happy with how these 2 cards came out. Okay, I am back, and my next card is using Under the Sun dies. And so I thought this came out really nice. And so for my background layer, we use this metallic spritz, and I have it right here. Let me grab it. So this is the blue shimmer, and this is the metallic spray, and this is by Hero Arts, and this is really pretty. I believe they have different colors on Spellbinders website, and so I probably will start using more mixed media because it just gives your card texture, and it really looks nice. And so I was very pleased at how this background layer came out with the spritz. And then I used a piece of vellum. Now the card that the teacher made up used the whole A2 front of this vellum, and I didn't want to use all that vellum, so I just took a little strip here, and then I cut out the sun, and this is very cute. And then my sentiment says hello sunshine, so I used the yellow and orange like I did in the sun for my sentiment. And then the sun and the sentiment is propped up on foam tape, and then I added some rhinestones in here. So I thought this was very cute. And then these are the actual dies right here. So these are a nice size. So I was happy with how this card came out. Okay, so the next card I made is using Beyond the Door dies. And so I'll hold these up. These are a lot of dies. And a lot of teachers were making cards with this. Like one teacher made a regular card, and then another teacher made a card with an easel, and then another teacher made this elaborate, it was like window. It was very nice, but I didn't do those because, like I said, I started late with cutting these dies out. And Spellbinders, they do have a lot of pieces. And I like it because the details is just amazing when you put this together. But I just didn't have time to do all the cards that each of the teachers made up. So at least I was able to do one card. So I was happy about that. And so I'll hold this card up. And I just love this background. You have the ocean in the background. And then you have the florals right here with the flower pots and the cobblestone. And so for our background, we actually inked the background on here, which was very nice, instead of just using plain yellow paper. And then we threw a little water on there and placed a paper towel to pick some of the ink up. So I don't know if you can see it in the background, but you can see some of the ink lifted up where we had splattered the water and lifted it up with the paper towel. So that was nice. And then on a floral, she actually took a white ink pen and put the little middle part of the flowers in here. I did not have a white pen on hand, and they had mentioned you can use pearls, so I love bling, so I did put my pearls on here. And then I put them over here too with the poppy flower. And then my sentiment says escape the ordinary, so I thought this card really came out nice. Okay, so for my last card, I used the Deck Side Dream dies right here, and this is of a ship. And so here's the actual card that I made up. And so we have the ship right here, which is kind of dimensional. And then this is the back of the ship with the steam coming out. And the way I placed the ship on here, I had to cut a portion of the steam out because it extended beyond my card. So I just cut that little piece off. Because if you look at the die right here, it has this little tip on here. So I cut the tip off. In the card, they didn't have these little strips right here. I put them on here because my waist was looking a little raggedy. So, so I thought the best way was just to cover them up. And then for my sentiment, I use Escape the Ordinary. And then I added some rhinestones on here. I think I went a little overboard with the rhinestone, but I do like how this card came out. Okay, so we're here to wrap up everything. And if I were to pick my favorite dies out, I would pick the Chayo dies right here to make up these cards. I just thought this was so unique and so different. And then also right here, the sun right here. I just love this sun. And so if I were to have to pick two things, I would pick these two die sets. And so, yeah, I think the retreat was nice. It was streamed on YouTube. We can go back and watch the videos. But like I said before, these sets will be available on Spellbinders' website for their new arrival releases. And I think that's sometime in the middle of June. So you can check their website, sign up for their newsletters to get information. So take care and see you in the next video.